person in others is not a lack of strength, not a lack of knowledge, but rather in a lack of will. This quote by Vince Lombardi really speaks to me. If you want to be successful in life, regardless of how you define the term success, you have to be willing to do whatever it takes. My parents were small business owners. I can honestly say I'm alive today because of ramen noodles and Taco Bell. My dad always had a do whatever it takes attitude towards supporting the family. He would work 2, sometimes even 3 jobs at the same time to cover child support for my older 2 half-siblings. He told me that you have to do whatever it takes to be responsible and live up to your promises. When I was born, my dad worked night shifts and my mom worked day shifts, both in the restaurant industry. When I was in kindergarten, my parents bought an automotive shop. My mom says she still remembers potty training my little brother in the bathroom at the shop while I would sit at the front desk doing my homework. What I remember is my shoes were always black and covered in oil and grease, which made me that much more embarrassed to be wearing shoes from Kmart to school. While we had to make sacrifices, my parents did whatever it took so that I could still take dance and gymnastics lessons. When I was in 5th grade, they made the decision to get out of the valley before I started junior high, and we moved up to the mountains in Arizona. My dad still made the 7-hour round-trip drive twice a week to take care of the shop, but still be able to spend time with the family. I was always a really good student in school. I was also a cheerleader through junior high, high school, and even into college. While my friends in the evenings and weekends were having fun, I was at home working on choreography for the cheer squad and studying. And on the weekends, I was working for my parents. I had to do whatever it took to get a full ride scholarship to Northern Arizona University. On top of cheering in college, I also took summer classes. I took winter classes. And I did what I had to do in order to graduate only 3 years outside of high school with my Bachelor of Science in Psychology, exactly 2 months to the day before I even turned 21. During my final year in college, I started dating my future ex-husband. We were dated for 2 months and we got married. I was only 21. And we moved back to the town my parents were in to help with their newest venture, residential construction and real estate. Chase was born the end of 2006. Our first year was rough. The recession hit hard. In order to continue to take Chase to work with me every day, there was no way I could afford daycare. I had to keep working for my parents, who now occasionally had to pay me on an IOU basis. When Chase was 6 months old, my ex-husband's father passed away, and he had to move across the state to help take care of his mom. When he returned a few months later, honestly, Chase didn't even know who he was. I had grown into the responsibility of being a parent, and that was not a responsibility that he was willing to take on. When you're no longer in love, you lose that will to do whatever it takes. We were young and unhappy, and we got divorced right after Chase's first birthday. Times didn't get any easier. The recession continued to hit. And I can tell you, you lose the remaining baby weight pretty fast when you're at the grocery store and you have to decide, do I buy diapers or dinner? We had to make a change fast. My parents and I packed up what we had, and we moved to a small town in Kansas to live near family. There's a university in that town there, and they have a really great construction program. So I decided to go back to school and get my construction management degree. On top of going to school full-time, I actually hit 24 credit hours one semester. I was also waitressing full-time, sometimes overtime, and potty training Chase on top of all this. And I graduated in a year and a half with a 4.0 GPA, and I was recruited by Kiewit to go down to their model yard in Corpus Christi. Right after Chase's 4th birthday, loaded up the Tahoe, packed all of our belongings in the U-Haul, and headed south. I had only been to Corpus once my entire life, and I honestly did not know a single person that lived in the entire state of Texas. Talk about a leap. While working at Kiewit was hard. The hours were long. People who I worked with would still comment, that I was walking around the halls and I always have a big old smile plastered on my face. And I would just tell them, or think to myself anyway, you have no idea how hard I worked to get to this point. After 3 years, however, Corpus still didn't feel like home to us, and the hours were excessive. So we decided to move to Houston. I worked at Fluor for 2 years. During this time, I still had to do whatever it took to spend time with Chase. I'd get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'd be at work by 5 so that I could work enough overtime and still be able to leave at 4 in the afternoon so that I could take him to soccer or basketball or golf or whatever else that it was that he had going on at the time. My will-do attitude was starting to get recognized at work more then. This is a performance award that I received from my manager at Fluor and our director from Exxon on the project I was on. Your commitment to excellence is greatly appreciated. This is an excellent example of meeting a challenge with a will-do attitude. After Fluor, I went to CV&I, and shortly after starting CV&I, I decided to go back to school again to get my MBA. I'm still having to do whatever it takes to keep up with everything. On top of working full-time and going to school, since starting the program, I've gotten married, I've built a house, I've been struggling through a pretty rough pregnancy for the last 9 months, getting ready for my baby to arrive most any day now, and I'm still having to do what it takes to spend quality time with my son. What I've learned over the years is that you have to keep a positive outlook regardless. It's important to have written goals, and it's your responsibility to take hold of your life. If you want to be successful, it's up to you to do whatever it takes to be responsible and to be successful. No one's going to do it for you. We only get to live once, and life is wonderful. I'd like to conclude by reading another quote. She is the best ever. She helps me a lot. And the best thing about her is, she said whatever it takes, she'll do it. I'll always remember parent curriculum night at Chase's school when the teacher handed me this letter. And I sat in those little second grader sized chairs. And I cried because I realized at that moment, everything I'd worked for so hard my whole life was suddenly all worth it. Thank you.